I know John Cleese is a very famous guy. I don't know what he's famous for. Like, if somebody asked me who John Cleese was, I'm like, I know that name. I don't know what he did. I couldn't tell you what he's known for. Dude's got 5 million followers, though, so he's pretty fucking huge. Monty Python? He's the Monty Python guy? Okay, thank you. But there's a tweet here that says, Pakistani scholar Uthman Farouk speaking in Birmingham, UK, a Muslim Europe will come true. America will be a Muslim country and Islam will enter every house. They can be as mad as they want, I don't care. Farouk is based in San Diego, California, and in May 2025, the UK banned him from entering the country for his justification of raping female war captives under Islamic law. The US made a mistake by letting him in. It must not make a bigger blunder by letting him stay. Kick him back to Pakistan. And John Cleese, being, I guess, a massive retard, says, does he not realize this kind of talk makes people feel that compromise is not possible, and that this way of thinking is very aggressive? Huh? Like, I saw this, and I was so stunned. I was like, is John Cleese in, like, fucking 2005? What are we doing here? What the fuck do you mean? This is just normal now, sir. What, there is no compromise. You have lost. What do you mean? He's so close to getting it. John Cleese can be stupid. The man needs a sitter. John Cleese is fully aware this is him being facetious. Is it? Is he fully aware? His daughter took over his account. Boomers still think it's 1988 and Reagan is in office. He's doing the Norm Macdonald tweet. I haven't seen anything else from him. So knowing literally nothing about his positions, this does not come across as satire or a joke. It comes across as he literally does not know where we are. He's not fully aware. He's just retarded. Chat even seems split. So I just thought that was really funny. Right after Sir Toasty Boy's tweet. He really doesn't know where we are. He thinks he knows a little bit, but he doesn't know anything. Yep. Yeats, it's very, what the fuck? What the fuck, Mr. Cleese? I genuinely cannot tell if this is actually a lefty game made by lefties, or if this is an immense satire on what lefties believe. I haven't watched, like, the full trailer yet, but I've seen a couple of posts on it, and I'm like, I cannot fucking tell if this is a real game or a satire game. Heil Kitchen. Stop saying that my food gives you poisoning. I'll disable the comments. Well, that seems a little silly. So what?
10 recipes to please our time-traveling Nazi overlords.
Wait, why are the Nazi overlords time-traveling? What did they mean by this?
Hot styles for your Nazi girl stuff.
Please make sure to follow the Reich's regulations.
Let's get started.
Oh boy, it's the Doom clone. Oh boy, boomers. Noro Berlin interest? What? Passive regeneration and arrow double jump? Fucking Nazis. I haven't seen a single swastika. I see more swastikas in my chat when I get donations in shekels than I did see in this game. Too zoomy to be a real boomer shooter. I would have to say, if this was satire, the person probably would have put swastikas in the game. So this has to just be like an actual leftist game, right? Like I miss the days when we could fuck up Nazis, but the Marxists had to fuck it up for everyone. I have no idea if it's satire. That didn't help. That didn't help me figure it out. One of the attacks was giving them the finger. Oh my god. The movies taught you that Nazis have time travel? I should watch Kung Fury. I have watched that, but that was ages ago. And Look Who's Back? Wasn't that like a movie about a talking baby?
Nope. No.
Yes.
Nope. No.
Why are there no more games where you kill commies? There should be. I agree. Where's my commie killing game? Look Who's Back is the one where Hitler suddenly shows up in present day. Kind of a fun movie. Wasn't there a Look Who's Back that had like dinosaurs in it? Am I crazy? Am I like thinking of not the right thing? That's We're Back? Oh. Everyone needs to stop coming back so I don't get confused anymore.
I'll be back.
We're Back, a dinosaur story. Not to be confused with Look Who's Back, a Hitler story. Duly noted. Quadruple amputee and professional cornhole player faces murder charges. So it says in La Plata, I think MD is Maryland. A professional cornhole player and quadruple amputee has been formally charged with murder and multiple related offenses in connection with a deadly shooting that occurred in Charles County on March 22nd, 2026. Dayton James Weber, 27, of La Plata, Maryland, was arraigned in the District Court of Maryland for Charles County after being located in Charlottesville, Virginia, and arrested following the fatal shooting of 27-year-old Bradrick Michael Wells, according to court documents. I feel like naming your child Bradrick is a way to like ensure that they get murdered later on in life. Like whenever you watch like videos of old royal families, you know, like not real videos obviously, but like, you know, the historical rendition shit. Anyone named Bradrick is just guaranteed to die. That's like, you're not making it past, you know, 30 pretty much. Did he physically operate the gun? Apparently. Brad or Rick would be fine, but both? According to the charging document signed by a detective from the Charles County Sheriff's Office, Weber is formally charged with first-degree murder, accused of intentionally and with premeditated malice killing Bradrick Wells on or about March 22nd, 2026, at 1015 Newport Church Road in Charlotte Hall, Charles County, Maryland. Second-degree murder, also charged in the same incident. Assault in the first degree, 2 counts, one relating to an alleged assault on someone identified as Bradrick Weber, and another relating to Bradrick Wells. Wait, what? Are there 2 different people named Bradrick in this situation? How did we find a nugget who killed someone named Bradrick and had an assault account on someone else named Bradrick? What is happening? What the fuck? I'm trying to see if they like made a typo or something because his name is Dayton James Weber and this other person is Bradrick Webb. Does he have a cousin named Bradrick? What is happening? Wait, Bradwick and Bradrick. What the fuck? What the fuck? How did we find 2 people with names like this in the same article? What is this clusterfuck? The Nugget is hunting Bradricks. Use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. The alleged firearm use during the felony offense. According to the statement of charges filed by Detective M. Bigelow of the Charles County Sheriff's Office, Dayton Weber picked up 2 witnesses from work in a vehicle, with Bradrick Wells already in the front passenger seat. This is Bradrick, not Bradwick. The documents state that while driving, an argument broke out between Weber and Wells. The witnesses, identified in the charging documents as Witness 1 and Witness 2, told police that Weber pulled out a firearm and shot Wells twice in the head during the argument. Bro, this nugget is crazy! The statement of charges says Weber then pulled the vehicle over and asked the passengers to remove Wells from the car, which they refused. The 2 witnesses exited the vehicle and flagged down a police officer, the documents state, while Weber drove off with Wells still inside the car. What the fuck? According to the filing, around 12:41 a.m. on March 23rd, a resident at 10115 Newport Church Road in Charlotte Hall discovered Wells' body on the side of the road. Man, the Nugget had to kick that body out all by itself. The statement of charges notes that both Witness 1 and Witness 2 positively identified Weber as the shooter and Wells as the victim, providing the basis for the murder and assault charges currently pending in Charles County District Court. Police say that Weber's vehicle was later located in Charlottesville, Virginia, and Weber was found at a hospital seeking treatment. Weber is currently awaiting extradition to Charles County, Maryland, where he will face formal charges. Police have not explained how Weber was able to drive a car or fire a weapon. That's a great question. Because we all know what a Nugget looks like. So, like, how is the Nugget driving? How is he driving and shooting someone at the same time? We need these answers, man. It's early in the investigation, but there's no evidence to suggest anyone else was involved in the shooting and that he acted alone, Diane Richardson of the Charles County Sheriff's Office said in a statement. Videos posted to social media do appear to show Weber shooting rifles and 9mm handguns. Let's see the YouTube video, bro. No! How is he pulling the trigger? That doesn't make any sense! What the fuck? He's got like a little like flesh hook that I guess he can control like a tentacle or some shit. I don't know. Is this AI? No, this is not AI. Alexa, deploy the tactical home defense nugget. His elbow is now his finger, basically. That's scary, bro. Weber underwent quadruple amputation as a baby after a blood infection, according to reports. He's a professional cornhole player in the American Cornhole League. The ACL has been on ESPN since 2016. That's one of the great things about our sport, how accessible it is, and how we like to say anyone can play. Anyone can win. Because if you want to put your mind to it, you want to put time into practice, you can become competitive. ACL Commissioner Stacey Moore told Fox News Digital earlier this month. Moore is pushing for cornhole to become a sport in the Olympics. I like how this article about how a nugget shot and killed someone and then drove away with their dead body in the car caps off with, yeah, we're trying to do things for the nugget community. Like, what? Like, that's great and all, but I don't think that should be in this article, actually. I don't know about it being in this article in particular. It's a little weird. So he was unarmed while being armed. I know, what a weird thing. Here's the person, no arm, no legs, but a mean cornhole player. Here we fucking go, bro. Look at how dangerous this nugget is. What a predator in his natural habitat.
There he is. A couple out to the right. Can Dayton Weber take advantage here? Back two is going to be good. It's going to set up a field goal for him. He's got a lot of room to work with. Just work right down the middle of those backs. Perfect. In for a 6.
And it is good right down the middle. And the crowd loves it here in Milwaukee.
What an inspiration. It's so refreshing to see accessible hobbies such as murder and cornhole. But that was literally a YouTube short. Like, the one of him shooting the gun is on YouTube right now. His skin would have left some cells on the gun, so they could technically leave evidence on the gun. What if he wrapped his nubs in nylons first, so it wouldn't leave skin? What then? Surely this is going to open up a market of nugget mercenaries that can be used and not traced. You know? A YouTuber has been found guilty of killing his pregnant girlfriend while using a pre-recorded GTA stream as an alibi. I've never even heard of this guy, but like, that is a very strange profile picture. YouTuber Stephen McCullough has been found guilty of killing his pregnant girlfriend while using pre-recorded GTA stream as an alibi. I've never heard of this guy before. Like, I'm trying to remember if he even looks familiar, because there were like some streamers that got caught on camera like beating their girlfriends, but I don't even think I remember him from any of those. Yeah, it says in December 2022, YouTuber Stephen McCullough went live on YouTube to play Grand Theft Auto. At the same time, his girlfriend, 32-year-old Natalie McNally, oh, her poor parents, why would they name her that, was killed at her home in Lurgan, Northern Ireland. The stream, however, was all part of a ruse. During the broadcast, McCullough told his viewers that he couldn't interact with them due to a technical issue. But cyber experts later determined that the GTA stream was pre-recorded, something McCullough reportedly admitted in a written statement to police. If you were trying to get away with it, why would you admit that? Like, if you went through all that trouble to have some kind of an alibi, why would you admit that? On March 23rd, McCullough was found guilty at a court in Belfast, Northern Ireland. That's a boat waifu! YouTuber tried to get away with murder with pre-recorded GTA stream. In a court, a jury was told how McCullough recorded his YouTube broadcast days in advance. His claim that between 6 p.m. and midnight he was going live was a complete fabrication. Barrister Charles McCreenor, KC, explained he repeatedly and to different people lied that he was doing a live show. They were also told how he disguised himself, took a bus to McNally's house the day of the murder, and then took a cab back home. After just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury reached the guilty verdict. According to the judge, the YouTuber's crime will be coming with a life sentence. You've been convicted to the murder of Natalie McNally. A date will be set for the settling of a minimum tariff, Justice Kinney said. Well, that's great that he at least gets a full life sentence. I feel like in a case like this, you know, death penalty would make a lot more sense. You wouldn't spend tax dollars keeping him alive. But, you know, that's Ireland. That's not my country. Be jammin', thank you. The story was such a crazy story. He had a Riddler-level clues in his stream. Also, a jury deliberated for 2 hours before sending him away for life. It needs to happen more often to people who do this kind of shit. Like, it's insane seeing so many people get let off for crimes, you know? He killed his own child at the same time, no? Did he? This one only says pregnant girlfriend. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, technically, because he killed her and she was pregnant. He had fucking clues in his pre-recorded video. What a fucking idiot. What a fucking, like, you're either gonna try to get away with it or you're gonna be an idiot. It's good for us that they're idiots. Saying, the woman who rents the house where a deadly pool party was held says she rents the pool out through Swimply. I would never use an app named Swimply. I'm just gonna tell you right now, like, I would not use an app that is called that. She says she maxed the event at 200 people, but by the time she left, she guesses there were 500 here. Here's what the backyard looks like. 5 shot, 1 dead. And I was like, what the actual fuck? What the fuck? Who did she rent to that it was supposed to be capped at 200, but they brought 500 people? And then it ended up in a shooting. It's really weird at a pool. She says the party got out of hand with the number of people, and she says she told the person who booked that there were too many people, but more just kept coming. She went to Harris Teeter with her kids and got a call about the shooting and rushed back. Why would you rush back? You had your kids with you. You're safe. The neighbor next door tells me that there have been several pool parties here at this house since last summer. He says that they're massive with DJs and all. The lady who rented out the pool through Swimply tells me that the party was booked for last weekend, but it rained. So only 25 people showed up. Knowing how many supplies the host bought, she felt bad and offered them to throw a party yesterday. Multiple witnesses tell me that there were so many people that the cars were parked across the street in a new apartment development and in a nearby neighborhood. The lady who rented out the pool also says that there was security patting people down and giving out under 21 bracelets. Yeah, so I agree with this guy. Absolutely insane to rent out your personal pool to strangers. I don't even let 95% of my friends come to mine. Yeah, if I was living in this person's neighborhood and they were just like renting out their pool to literal fucking who, causing bedlam in what is presumably a very nice upscale area, I would fucking hate this person. I would be like, this is the worst fucking neighbor. They do not get a cup of sugar. They do not get a Christmas card. They get me glaring at them every time I remove potted plants from my front yard. Yeah, my pool, not just for anyone. Like, that's fucking insane. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to your fucking neighbors? What is wrong with you? Not so Swimple anymore. Someone stuffed that guy with cupcakes. The one time an HOA could be useful. This is how HOAs come into existence in the first place. That's fucking crazy. And I was like, I haven't heard anything about this. This is literally like one fucking guy. I don't know who this is. It has a lot of views, but not a lot of interactions. So that's kind of weird. So I was like, is there an article on this? Did this happen? Chaos. Hundreds were at a pool party when gunfire erupted, killing 1. A deadly shooting at a North Charlotte house Sunday night started with a pool party that was booked through a peer-to-peer rental app called Swimply. Channel 9's Hunter Sains just spoke to the woman who lives in the house on Hucks Road near Old Stateville and Interstate 485. She said she rented out her pool and wasn't home when she got a call about a shooting. Richard Thomas, 20, died and 4 others were hurt. The renter, Sergey Arnaud, said the event was allowed to have 200, but she estimated that there were hundreds more partygoers at the pool. Vehicles packed her front yard and backyards, and people under 21 wore wristbands, she said. Attendees were patted down. The woman who rents the house where a deadly pool party was held said she rents the pool out through Swimply. She said she maxed the event at 200 people, but by the time she left, she guesses there were 500 there. See, this is what I also don't understand. If you normally stay in your house while people are using the pool, and you cap it at 200, but then you're like, wait a minute, it looks like there's more than 200 here. Why would you leave your house? This woman sounds like a fucking moron on like multiple fucking levels. Where is her husband? Where is her retard handler? She needs them back. Attendees were patted down. If there was security, why didn't they turn people away? That's a great fucking question. Here's what the backyard looks like. 5 shot, 1 dead. Swimply is like Airbnb, but for pools, and can have more amenities such as hot tubs, bathrooms, grills, speakers, etc. Arnaud estimated 500 teens and young adults were at the gathering. Why were you allowing teens to come to this pool party that adults were at and drinking alcohol at? My window faces out in the yard, Arnaud said. I see them kids flying. People was flying everywhere. What? And I mean, this looks like a fairly nice pool when it's not covered in dirt. I hate this website though. It has like so much squimpsh everywhere. Teens could be here, he thought. Teens could be anywhere, man. Seal boy, thank you. Pool is indeed closed. One does not swimply walk away from a pool party with 300 more people than there are supposed to be. Yeah, that doesn't make any fucking sense. There was trash floating on the water and scattered across the yard on Huck's Road. Neighbor Colby Granger said told Sains he was at home with his newborn when gunfire erupted. I felt very helpless, he said. He feared a round would pierce his home and looked outside. There were people sprinting, like 150 in the backyard, 50 in the front yard, people running everywhere, hiding in the bushes, running across the street, running to get into cars, cars driving through the front yard, picking people up, just chaos. Neighbors want to see more regulations for renting pools. Without more rules, everyone is in danger when things escalate, they said. I'd be so pissed. I would be so pissed. Like if I purposefully bought a home in like a really nice location around like really nice, well-maintained homes, and then someone on that road invited people like my mother and her acquaintances to use their pool, I'd be fucking pissed. Like there's just no way around that. It does say she's a renter in the bits that I've read. The woman who rents the house where a deadly pool party was held says she rents the pool out through Swimply. Wait, the woman who rents the house where a deadly pool party was held says she rents the pool out through Swimply. So wait, who's the fucking house owner? Wait, no, you guys are right. Hold on. How can someone who's renting the house then go and rent out the pool? Who is owner? Who is phone? What is happening? There's 2 layers of renting. What the fuck? Yeah, they only fucking mention it once. And I mean, I guess it could be English. If she's renting the house as the owner, I'd be pissed that she's renting the pool. Renting is like an onion. Oh my god. Renting pyramid scheme. One does not swimply swim into Mordor. One does not swimply rent a pool.
Our first look at a packed pool party that turned deadly in North Charlotte. I'm Erica Bryant.
I'm Scott Wickersham. Hundreds were at the party that started.
His last name is Wickersham. What a fucking name. He looks like a linebacker. That guy played football.
On a pool rental app and ended with 5 people shot. One of them died. Tonight.
Chat, I'm noticing in these images on the side. Let me move my big dumb head out of the way. I'm noticing in these images on the side, there's a whole lot of standing around the sides of the pool and not a whole lot of swimming going on.
Party that turned deadly in North Charlotte. I'm Erica Bryant.
Like we
I'm
can't
Scott
see
Wickersham.
much of the
Hundreds
pool.
were at the party that started on a pool rental app.
We can't see much of the pool, but like look how much real estate is in there from what we can see. What the fuck? Why aren't there more people in the pool?
And ended with 5 people shot. One of them died. Tonight, this is the mess left behind at this home on Huck's Road, just east of Old Statesville Road.
Jesus.
Our crime reporter Hunter Sines.
Is that Little Caesar's Pizza? You're telling me they rented out an entire pool and then they bought fucking Little Caesars? Ain't no way, dude. Stereotypes are real, Kirsche. Stop noticing. Shh. Shh. Pool's closed due to AIDS.
People who live at that house, and he joins us now live. Hunter?
Scott, the woman who rents out the
My
pool
left
at
ear
this
loves
house
this.
across the street here behind me, tells me there were so many people at this pool party that this entire front lawn was packed with cars. People were even parking in the development just beyond.
I would be so pissed if I invited people to my home and they parked on my fucking lawn. I'd be like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Get your fucking car off my lawn. What if they were parked on like a leach field, man? Imagine the damages. Habbo Hotel. I'm so mad. I'm so mad and it's not even my house.
Our camera and in the neighborhood just down the road and walking to this pool party. She also told me that those under 21 years old were marked with wristbands and that people were being patted down before entering the backyard, but clearly something was missed.
Inside this.
I feel like that's a terrible way to phrase it, when you're dealing with multiple people shot and one dead, just be like, clearly they missed something. Well, yeah, but I mean, not the people shot, they didn't miss. Fuck. Pyromaniac, thank you. The whole thing is a violation of the NAP. Deploy the tactical Roombas. I need the tactical lawn mowing Roombas.
Taped off backyard, remnants of what was a pool party are left behind.
Remnants.
Plastic bottles and trash left floating. Shoes and sandals scattered across the yard after partygoers literally ran out of them as gunfire erupted. The sounds of the shots captured on a nearby Ring camera.
Pop, 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 pop. And then little break. Pop, 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 pop.
Colby Granger and his family live in the house next
Thank you, local stoner, for that explanation.
door. They were home with their newborn.
And I felt very helpless.
This is what the party looked like at the beginning. It was captured
I was
by
hoping
this
we'd see
woman
more of the pool.
who says she rents a room at this house and she rents out the pool through an app called
Chat, you were so fucking right. She literally rents a room in the house. Not even the whole house, just a fucking room. And she's renting out the pool she doesn't even own. If I was the owner, I would be like, how can I evict the scum shit as fast as humanly possible? Oh my God, Islam was right about women.
Swimply. She says she told the organizer not to let anyone else in after she counted 200 people there, but admits it got out of hand. She estimates 500 teens and young adults were here when she left.
I think that answers my question about why she got the fuck out after she saw them over capacity. I was like, a homeowner wouldn't do that. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It makes sense now that she's just some fucking renter and that homeowner's gonna be pissed.
My window is facing the yard and I see all them kids flying, people was flying everywhere.
Serge Arnold also lives in the house where the party was held and was in his room Sunday evening around 7 o'clock when police say 5 people were shot, including 20.
I can't tell if this homeowner is a retard or if they're trying to keep property values in the neighborhood down. Like what the fuck? This is crazy.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
Old Richard Thomas, who died. Granger says he feared a bullet would enter his home and still remembers what he saw when he looked out.
People sprinting, like 150 people in the backyard, 50 people in the front yard, people running everywhere, hiding in bushes, running across the street, going to get in cars pulling out, driving through the yard, picking people up, just chaos.
From Chopper 9 Sky Zoom, you can see how vast the property is. And in the backyard, a moment in time now frozen after a pool party turned into a mass shooting.
And multiple neighbors told
I'm
me...
I'm sorry, just the way that these fucking news people are wording it, it's taking me out, bro.
There have been dozens of pool parties at this property dating back to last summer. Some of them even had DJs at them. Now those neighbors tell me they would like to see more regulations when it comes to renting out residential pools. It is something they say is needed to keep everyone safe, especially in case things escalate like they did here. Live in North Charlotte tonight, Hunter Signs, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
I just still don't understand how someone renting a room is able to rent out the pool. Like, that's not your pool, bro. See, Thomas Peasant, thank you. You're still flummoxed at the idea of there being 500 people at this party. Who knows that many beachgoers? I don't think even I could, like, figure out 500 people to invite to a party. I'd be overwhelmed with, like, 20, man. They probably invited 20 and the rest just showed up. You drive from New Jersey to Massachusetts for a Kirsche pool party. Jesus Christ. I have to ask you, chat, should a neo-Nazi be allowed to identify as Anne Frank? You know, I just, that's a great question that we have to contend with in current year. It's 2026, why not? In July 2023, German neo-Nazi Sven Liebich was convicted of extreme right incitement to hatred defamation, and insult. He had been caught red-handed wearing a stormtrooper getup. A ream of Nazi-esque social media posts had been made under his name. Apparently, he had even distributed baseball bats inscribed with the phrase, "Deportation Helper." This guy's fucking crazy, what the heck? Leibich's crimes were grim enough, but it was his Princess Diaries-inspired transformation that brought him to international attention. Sentences I never thought I would read. A neo-Nazi's Princess Diaries-inspired transformation brought him international attention. All right, okay. What the fuck is this? In 2024, he showed up in court in lipstick, a floppy beach hat. I love floppy beach hats. And a leopard print blouse. Well, let's not get too carried away, all right? Like, that definitely has leopard print on it, but I think it's majority black. So calling it a leopard print blouse is a bit of a stretch, okay? He looks like something out of fucking Reno 911. He asked to be referred to not as Sven, but Marla Svenja, and also declared himself to be female. Since Germany explicitly allows anyone to identify how they please under the 2024 Self-Determination Act, there was little that could be done to stop him. Oh wow, who could have seen this coming? And so Leibich's name and legal sex were duly changed, and he was ordered to report to Chemnitz Women's Prison in August the following year. It took many months for the penny to drop that maybe, just maybe, Leibich had been playing the system. Curiously, it wasn't the fact that Marla still had a whopping great mustache on her face, nor his history of publicly harassing gay and trans individuals that seemed to wake up to the authorities. No, the straw that broke the camel's back was his request in November last year to change not only his gender again, this time from female to diverse, but also his name to Anne Frank. Well, you know, under current gender doctrine, if a man wants to become literally Anne Frank, I mean, who are we to deny his lived experience? According to LTO, a magazine specializing in legal affairs, the authorities in the district of Saale-Kreis in Saxon-Anhalt have now had enough of Leibich's provocations. Towards the end of the year, they asked the courts to overturn his original request to change his gender. Judges will soon report back on whether the far-right fugitive may have abused the system of gender self-ID. You think? The sudden realization that Leibich might not be a woman after all is too little, too late. Not least as this question is now purely academic. Leibich has long since gone AWOL. Authorities believe him to be hiding out in Russia, the famous haven of trans rights. There's something darkly humorous about the wedding of fusty German bureaucracy with the post-truth insanity of gender ideology. Leibich was not only playing the system, but also flagrantly mocking it, knowing full well that no one would have the gumption to stop him. That's true. You can identify as a demi-gender special, all-spectrum, terrain, organic, grass-fed wonder thing, but you can't use the name Anne Frank. That's a step too far. That's too much, actually. That's where they've decided to draw the line.
And now you have officially carried it too far, buddy.
The fact that an entire court case will now be dedicated to deciding whether we can call Leibich a he, no doubt, while Leibich himself kicks back with a glass of Smirnoff somewhere in Siberia, is indicative of the humiliating chokehold gender ideology has much of Europe locked in. Indeed, even the news reports on the neo-Nazi fugitive defer to his chosen pronouns. That is insane. That is in-fucking-sane, bro. With public broadcaster MDR asking whether the far-right extremist Marla Svenja Leibich could soon revert to her original name. The Germans are not well, bro.
That ain't no woman. It's a man.
Oh my god. Of course, had Leibich actually shown up to the female prison to which he'd been assigned, the ramifications for the women residing there would not have been quite so laughable. At best, we might hope the sheer stupidity of this case will prompt some kind of sober reckoning with gender self-ID laws, although I won't hold my breath. After all, the neo-Nazi who identifies as Anne Frank didn't so much abuse self-ID laws as take them to their logical, horrifying conclusion. Yes, very true. Imagine a world in which the Germans are not a serious people. That's the world we live in now. Judge releases the 12-year-old accused of pinning a 12-year-old girl down and shoving rocks in her mouth so his friend could rape her. Miami-Dade Judge Richard Hirsch ruled that Nelson Nunez, 13, the alleged ringleader of the gang rape, must remain in jail. Josiah Jones, 12, was released but placed on strict house arrest. Xavier Tyson, 15, is out of custody but is required to appear in court soon. He was 14 when the alleged attack occurred. Jones's lawyer argued that his client acted under duress and that the victim's statement suggested he was remorseful. Yeah, I feel like if you're an individual who's willing to put rocks in a woman's mouth so she can't scream while being raped, you should probably not be placed on house arrest. You should probably have some actual repercussions for your literal heinous behavior. What the fuck are we doing?
From today's hearing, and I'll tell you some more details about what happened. There were two very different outcomes today. 13-year-old Nelson Nunez, the suspect accused of raping the young girl, will remain behind bars in an adult correctional facility as he awaits trial. Over the past several days, his attorney had Nunez's family members tell the judge how they would ensure his supervision if he were to be released. The judge was not convinced. However, 12-year-old Josiah Jones, the suspect accused of putting rocks in the young girl's mouth to silence her as she was allegedly being raped by Nelson Nunez, will be allowed to go home as he awaits trial.
Why will he be allowed?
He'll have to attend virtual school and can't have access to the internet outside of school and may not contact the victim or any other defendants. So both suspects are being tried as adults. We spoke to attorneys for both suspects after the ruling.
Now, that doesn't mean he's going to stay in custody forever. It just means for now, as we are defending the case and we're resolving the case, he will remain in custody.
My client received a substantial different outcome because he was in substantially a different position. The position he was in was that he was forced to do the things that he did by the other two children as a threat of force. And those
was he? How do we know this? Was he? That's the first time I'm hearing this. Sources tell me the judge overseeing the case is known as Let Them Go. His name is Richard Hirsch. The nickname tells you everything. Yeah, that's not a very good nickname. More context, the 12-year-old Josiah Jones, who's accused of pinning a young girl down and shoving rocks in her mouth so his friend could rape her, had previously been released from juvenile detention. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Jones's father said his son did nothing wrong and suggested he was targeted because he is black. I remember seeing that video. Police say Jones held the victim down while Nelson Nunez, 13, raped her in a community garden in Miami. Investigators allege Xavier Tyson, who was 14 at the time, helped restrain the victim during the June attack. Police say Jones put rocks in the girl's mouth to muffle her screams as the assault continued. Authorities say the girl begged the boys to stop, and the attack lasted nearly 30 minutes before ending when they heard her father calling her name. Jones and Nunez appeared in court Wednesday for an Arthur hearing to determine whether bond could be set. Jones's mother said her son had been receiving mentorship from the Circle of Brotherhood and joined the group after a prior juvenile arrest in which charges were later dropped. Well, it sounds like those charges probably shouldn't have been dropped. What the fuck?
It's not true. This point.
It's not true. Sounds like those crazy ladies that fucking Wubby interviewed a decade ago.
You know, you have a 13-year-old kid sitting in jail, and me and I think my co-counsel, the lawyer for the co-defendant, we both will be fighting hard to get our clients out of jail.
Why? As for Jones's father, he tells us the allegations against his son are not true.
A young black man that was visiting Miami. It was with the wrong two kids, a 15 and a 14-year-old. My son is 12 years old and has a father that takes.
I like how he had to specify that his son has a father.
Care of him. These allegations are bogus.
It's not true. So fucking goofy. Holy shit. Nelson Nunez, 13, was denied bond and will stay in jail while he awaits trial, while 12-year-old Josiah Jones was granted house arrest. Two of the three young suspects facing charges in the alleged rape of a 12-year-old girl at a community garden in Miami last year were back in court Monday, where a judge denied bond for one and granted house arrest for the other. Nelson Nunez, 13, was denied bond and will stay in jail while he awaits trial, while 12-year-old Josiah Jones was granted house arrest. The horrific nature of this assault is not diminished by the age of the defendants. They are both facing up to life in prison for their participation in this attack on a 12-year-old girl. Nunez Jones and 15-year-old Xavier Tyson are all charged as adults in the alleged rape that happened June 18th, court records show. According to police, the victim told investigators she was taken to the Greenhaven Project at 1160 Northwest 2nd Avenue, a community garden in Overton, by the group of boys before she was held down and prevented from screaming when rocks were forced into her mouth. While Jones and Tyson allegedly held the girl down, Nunez raped her, arrest reports say. A grand jury indicted the boys on various charges, including kidnapping and false imprisonment. In asking to be released, Jones's testimony claimed he was pressured into participating in the assault by the other teen. The position he was in is that he was forced to do the things that he did by the two other children as a threat of force. And those are the words of the young victim herself, defense attorney Jean-Michel D. Escobit said. An attorney for Nunez also sought his release, saying he admitted to the crime, he was remorseful, and his family was willing to welcome him home to take care of him. They're disappointed, but he's also a young child. He's 13 years old. Of course, these are serious allegations, but he is 13, so of course he was hoping to reunite with his family. The family was hoping to be reunited, defense attorney Bijan Sebastian said. So, I haven't heard the victim say that one of them was forced to shove rocks in her mouth by force. I haven't seen that anywhere. Maybe they'll release that at some point, you know? Because, like, even if there was a threat of force, unless they had, like, a gun, I feel like this is just kind of making excuses, you know? You hate these people, right? Anyone with a shred of humanity would take a beating before they would help their friend do something like this? Yeah, exactly. The face when pressured into felonies by the boys. Sergeant Buck, thank you. You really used the "an older kid told me to do it" defense, and it worked? I guess so. I fucking guess so. Did you know he was 13? These pieces of shit seem to really want to hammer that home. Yeah, they're focusing on how young he is, even though the victim was, like, the same age. And I think the victim should be taken far more into account than how young he is. His age only speaks to how much worse it is that he's doing this. Like, I don't know what they think they're doing, because it's not encouraging people to be sympathetic because of the age. If anything, it's an aggravating factor. Yeah, exactly. Stabbed and left for dead in the Seaport. A victim clinging to life after early morning attack in one of Boston's most expensive neighborhoods. A person was stabbed and rushed to the hospital with life-threatening injuries during an early morning attack in Boston's Seaport district, police said. Officers responded to a reported stabbing in the area of 72 Seaport Boulevard around 2:45 a.m. Sunday. Found the victim suffering from stab wounds, according to the Boston police. The victim was transported to a nearby hospital for treatment of life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made. Police have not released the identity of the victim or a description of the suspect. The stabbing marks the latest in a violent weekend across the Boston area. Does it? How are there 182 comments on this? How are there 182 comments? There's not even any information in the article. Person was hospitalized with life-threatening injuries after a stabbing in Boston Seaport district. Stabbing occurred in the area of 72 Seaport Boulevard. The victim, whose name was not released, was taken to a hospital. Homicide detectives responded to the scene. No arrests have been made. The stabbing remains under investigation. So we have literally no fucking information on the stabbing. 2 articles, no information. He and his 2 friends lured a father working as a pizza delivery driver into a trap and butchered him for just over $100. The parole board says he's ready to walk free. This is beyond wrong. It's shameful. We need to fire the entire parole board, every single one of them. Massachusetts cannot keep rewarding brutality and calling it justice. Massachusetts man convicted in pizza delivery driver slaying has been granted parole. Unspeakable acts of violence. The emerging adult offender had been sentenced to life without parole in 2014. A Hyde Park man who was convicted in a pizza delivery driver's killing and was sentenced to life without parole less than 12 years ago has been granted parole. What the fuck does even a life without parole sentence mean if they can just go back on that and give you parole a decade later? Like, what's even the point? What's even the point? At this point, it feels like any kind of life without parole sentence is, let's see if we can sick a monster on the public later on in life instead of dealing with him the efficient way. The Massachusetts Parole Board recently okayed the release of 35-year-old convicted murderer Michael St. John, who was 20 years old when he and 2 others were charged in the slaying of 58-year-old Rochelle Nova. The decision to grant St. John's freedom comes after the parole board okayed the release of 18 convicted murderers early this month. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Massachusetts Parole Board frees toddler killer and 17 other murderers? Why? 13 of the 18 granted parole this month were initially sentenced to life without parole. Chat, if we don't bring back the death penalty, liberals will literally try to kill you using convicted murderers. What the fuck is happening? Stick-up teen says he meant no harm. Fuck him! The state's parole board has been busy in recent weeks, releasing 18 convicted murderers, including 13 emerging adult offenders who were initially sentenced to life without parole. The parolee list features a man who killed his girlfriend's 22-month-old daughter and a first-degree murderer who fatally shot a restaurant owner during a robbery. Why are they being let out? Why are they being granted parole? What are we doing here? Emerging adult is insect speak. Yo, what the fuck does emerging adult even mean? Because they said that about this guy. They said this guy was an emerging adult, but he was 20 fucking years old. Like, emerging adult said to me, like, oh, maybe they were like 17 or just turned 18. This guy was fucking 20. What are we doing? I'm so fucking upset. What even is Massachusetts anymore? Holy fuck, dude. He was just a poor 20-year-old child. In another case, a man who was originally sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of life in prison without parole for a double murder was granted freedom. What the fuck do convictions even mean anymore? What does it matter if someone gets 2 life terms without parole if they can just be granted parole again later? What the fuck do convictions even mean? What are we doing? Why is this happening? I am going to glow on a nuclear fucking scale. I hate our justice system. Holy fuck, dude. The victims in that case were shot 16 times, including 6 shots to the head, and 7 times, including 5 shots to the head, respectively. Why are they being given parole? Why? Meanwhile, the parole board this month denied parole to 12 convicted murderers, including 6 in the emerging adult offender classification. One of the inmates who was rejected had been convicted in connection with a police chief slaying. The more I read articles like this, the more I lose my, yeah, I don't trust the government, so in theory, I really like the death penalty, but the government can use it in nefarious ways that I would not like to see. And I start going, I don't fucking care anymore. Start doling out the death penalty liberally. We need it to protect ourselves from the fucking judges at this point. Holy shit, dude. Look, man, you understand changing rulings based on new evidence in cases of wrongful conviction, but that doesn't seem to be what any of this is. Yeah, it's not that. This is insanity. One of the murder convicts who the parole board recently granted freedom to was Edward Starling. He was found guilty of second-degree murder for the death of 22-month-old Laquita Prout. Back in 1974, Starling was 19 years old when he was babysitting his girlfriend's toddler in Dorchester. At some point in the early morning, Starling knocked on the door of a neighboring apartment and said that there was something wrong with the baby, called an ambulance, and left to look for the baby's mother. Why would you leave? Upon arrival, emergency responders found Laquita dead. The medical examiner ruled that the toddler's cause of death was from 1 or more very severe blows to the chest or abdomen with a foot, fist, or some other blunt instrument. Why was he granted parole? Why? He beat the baby to death, either with his extremities or an instrument. And they're like, yeah, this guy deserves parole. He should be back out on the streets. It's not like the babies can crawl to him. It's not like we're just feeding him babies to murder. Police arrested Starling that evening. The next day, Starling was arraigned in Dorchester District Court, where he was released on $10,000 bail. That is egregious too! Why was he released on bail after beating a baby to death? What is happening? The case was continued for a month, but Starling did not appear at the next hearing. Then almost 20 months later, he was found in Newark, New Jersey, living under the assumed name of Marvin Morgan. He was arrested and returned to Boston for trial. Wow! I'm so shocked the baby killer you let out on bail tried to flee and change his identity. Why are judges? Why? How does anyone have any faith in any kind of justice system anymore? Recently, Starling appeared for the 9th time before the parole board. He's now 71 years old and has served 50 years behind bars. He should have served less than 5. He should have been executed. Mr. Starling has made considerable progress since the last hearing, the board wrote, later adding, Mr. Starling has significant medical needs and will require assisted living. Can't we just assist him to the other world? Like, what are we fucking doing? Mr. Starling is educated and has been sober throughout his incarceration. What the fuck do you mean by that? An emerging adult offender who's being released is Gary Johnson, who robbed a pizza shop before shooting the restaurant owner in the head. In 2007, Johnson was 18 years old when he shot and killed 47-year-old Mumin Manavoglu in Dorchester. Manavoglu had been preparing food at Stalex Pizza on Norfolk Street when Johnson came in wearing a mask and pointed a gun at him. Why wasn't he executed? If you can just execute these violent people, we would have so many less problems. Sober throughout incarceration? You mean like everyone in incarceration is? Johnson ordered the cashier to open the cash register and empty its contents into a bag. Then Johnson took the bag and left the pizzeria. Manavoglu followed and began struggling with Johnson, and then Johnson fired 2 shots, striking Manavoglu once in the face. Manavoglu died 2 days later from his injuries. Johnson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, but he became eligible for release following the 2024 State Supreme Judicial Court ruling in the Mattis case. The SJC in that case ruled that emerging adults who committed the crime when they were 18 to 20 years old cannot be sentenced to life without parole. What the fuck? Our justice system, for all intents and purposes, is a system used to terrorize Americans. This is not where you go to get justice. This is where you go as a criminal to get given carte blanche to accuse and attack and destroy more people. We no longer have an actual justice system. This is a criminal system. We need to fucking clean sweep judges and DAs and get all of these ridiculous people out of these positions. This is absurd. And the fact that we have to live through it and it's actually real is even more absurd. That ruling made more than 200 convicts eligible for parole hearings, including Johnson, who's now 37. Another emerging adult offender who was recently granted parole was Frank DiBenedetto. In 1988, he was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Joseph Batari and Frank Ciucciolo. Back in 1986, DiBenedetto was 19 when he, as co-defendant, shot and killed Batari, age 23, and Ciucciolo, age 20, in the North End. That's a really fun last name, and I wish I could pronounce it better. Botari was shot 16 times, including 6 shots to the head. And Ciucciolo was shot 7 times, including 5 shots to the head. Both men were shot at close range. A witness who lived in an apartment overlooking the park heard 4 or 5 cracks or pops that he thought were fireworks. He looked out his window and saw orange-red flashes in the area near the co-defendant's head. The witnesses then watched DiBenedetto bend near one of the men lying on the ground and saw 4 to 6 flashes accompanied by the sound he initially heard. The sounds continued until the 3 shooters left the park. DiBenedetto was sentenced to 2 consecutive terms of life in prison without the possibility of parole. But then he became eligible for parole following the Mattis ruling. He's now 59 years old. Inmate tied to police chief's murder denied parole. Well, finally. One of the 12 convicted murderers who did not get parole this month was Jamie Richard, who was convicted of second-degree murder in the death of Paxton Police Chief Robert Mortal. Richard was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Why? In 1994, Richards was 23 when he broke into homes with Michael Souza and Kenneth Paget. When their stolen minivan got stuck in a snowbank, Souza carjacked a Department of Public Works truck at gunpoint, and the trio drove off. The DPW truck also got stuck in a snowbank, and the 3 men fled into the woods. The Paxton police chief drove to the area, saw the 3 men, and chased them into the woods. At some point during the chase, Richards and Paget split off from Souza. Then Souza and Chief Mortel exchanged gunfire. Souza shot Mortel 11 to 13 times, killing him. Police arrested Souza shortly after the shooting and apprehended Paget and Richards the following day. The parole board wrote in its denial Mr. Richards had made stride in his rehabilitation, but the board believes that a longer period of rehabilitative adjustment is appropriate. That should have been the ruling for literally everyone you set free. That's fucking crazy. That's actually fucking crazy. I do not know how, you can live in mass and be okay with the things that are going on. Why are you still voting for Democrats? Why do you still want these people in control? This is just crazy to me. Jesus fucking Christ. St. John and his co-defendants, Alexander Gallatt and Yamali Mathurin, lured Nova to his death on September 1st, 2010, according to prosecutors. This is back at the Pizza Guy, the original article. That evening, the trio took a bus to a vacant house in Hyde Park. Using a neighbor's phone, they called Domino's Pizza and placed an order for delivery. They also asked if the delivery driver would have change for large bills. Nova arrived with the order and was escorted up the house's rear staircase. Nova, who was working a second job as a delivery driver to provide for his family, had a little more than $100 on him when he was robbed and butchered. 5 minutes later, St. John and his co-defendants left the house with a pizza box and drove away in Nova's vehicle. The vehicle was later found abandoned in a parking lot. In and around the vehicle, officers recovered a pizza box, empty bleach, and rubbing alcohol bottles. The label on the outside of the pizza box listed the delivery address as the vacant house, and had St. John's phone number listed as the callback number. Officers responding to the vacant house found Nova unresponsive. His pant pockets were turned inside out, and he had visible stabbing puncture wounds. Nova did not survive his injuries. Officers discovered significant forensic evidence implicating St. John and his co-defendants. Fingerprints and DNA were found at the vacant home, on Nova's body and car, and on the pizza boxes St. John and his co-defendants also made inculpatory statements when interviewed by police. Rochelle Nova was a hardworking man making an honest living to provide for his family when he was preyed upon by 3 vicious thugs. Former BPD Commissioner Ed Davis said in the days after the 2010 slaying, "For a small amount of mercy, these suspects committed unspeakable acts of violence while showing Mr. Nova no mercy." 4 years after the killing, St. John in 2014 was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was also sentenced to a concurrent term of 5 to 7 years for armed robbery, with a concurrent term of 1 to 3 years for breaking and entering in the nighttime with intent to commit a felony, which was deemed served. The more and more judges and DAs create this air of criminals will not be punished, criminals can terrorize you, and they'll be rewarded by us for doing so, the more it's going to encourage someone to finally take up like a vigilante stance. And when vigilante justice becomes like the de facto and only justice, things get real fucking scary. In 2024, St. John became eligible after the Supreme Judicial Court's decision in Commonwealth versus Mattis, in which the SJC ruled that emerging adult offenders who were 18 to 20 at the time cannot be sentenced to life without parole. This is so fucking stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Do we have is the entire Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts run by 70 IQ people? What the fuck are we doing? St. John, as a result, was resentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 15 years. He was 20 years old at the time of offense, so he became eligible for parole at 35. St. John appeared before the parole board for an initial hearing last year, and he was represented by well-known local attorney Rosemary Scapicchio. Mr. St. John began to invest in rehabilitative programming prior to the Mathis decision. The parole board wrote in its ruling, he has minimal disciplinary records, and this was his first incarceration, no prior record. Do you know why he began investing in rehabilitative programming prior to the Mathis decision? Because he likely had an attorney telling him about this decision possibly being made, and if it goes well, then he could possibly get parole. So he needs to do things leading up to that ruling in order to convince the board that he should be allowed parole. What are we doing here? It's just all fucking awful, man. Mr. St. John acknowledged the brutality of this offense, and although not responsible for stabbing the victim, his actions and inactions contributed to the death of the victim. Mr. St. John earned his GED and is participating in community college courses. Mr. St. John also acquired employment skills and is currently in the NEEDS program. I don't know what the NEEDS program is, but he was 20 years old at the time of the crime. So earning his GED matters jack fucking shit. The fact that he was 20 years old and didn't have a high school diploma should raise more fucking red flags than congratulating him for earning his GED. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking serious here, bro? St. John does not have a substance abuse disorder or mental illness, the board wrote. Good, at least he can't use the fucking insanity plea when he goes and kills someone else after you let him out. I'm gonna be reading about this guy in 5 or 6 months again, dude. He has also established a release plan to address his re-entry needs, and he has a support system to assist him with transitioning to the community. Hot take. Murderers shouldn't have a support system to help them when they get out of prison, because they shouldn't be getting out of prison. The board considered the testimony of an educator, a social worker, and Mr. St. John's family and friends in support of the parole. the parole board added. The board considered the testimony of Mr. Nova's family members and Suffolk County ADA Montez Haywood in opposition to parole. The board concludes that Michael St. John has demonstrated a level of rehabilitation that would make his release compatible with the welfare of society. It's in the best for the welfare of society that this man no longer walk the earth. What do you mean? And also, that's very interesting. That's very interesting, I say smugly to you, chat. The board considered testimony of Mr. Nova's family members and the Suffolk County ADA. That's very interesting. You know how people will come out after someone in their family is raped or murdered, and they'll be like, oh, I forgive the rapist or the murderer. You know, Jesus tells us to be forgiving to those who do us harm, and it's up to God now what happens. If you say that out loud and internally you're still like, well, I hope he gets, earthly repercussions because he fucked me, that's not gonna happen. They're gonna take all of those interviews where you said that shit and be like, look, even the victim thinks that he should be shown mercy. Why should he be held in prison? Way to go. Way to go, guys. Forgiveness does not mean reprisal from consequences. Every time I loop on this, there's a couple retards like you guys who say that in chat. I would like for you to look at what the global aspect of people's purview on Christianity is. When you see someone come out and say, oh, I know my daughter was raped and murdered, but I forgive them. That's what Jesus would do. I'm so sorry. I forgive them. You look like a cuck. Everyone's gonna think you're a cuck, and no one's gonna want to be a fucking Christian because you just look like a cuck. It doesn't matter what it actually is. You need to correct all of these people going out and being like, oh, it's forgiveness. It's what Jesus would have wanted. You should be like, stop it. Stop making all of us look like spineless cucks who don't care if our family members are raped and murdered. Because I know that's not the case, but that's what they're making it look like. Those people don't know what it is. I know. It's fucking insane. Key Charlie Kirk mentor Jeff Webb dies in freak pickleball accident. A dear friend to Charlie. Chat, how many people die in pickleball accidents? How do you even have a pickleball accident that ends with you dying? I just don't understand what's happening. One of Charlie Kirk's early mentors has died in a freak pickleball accident. Texas businessman Jeff Webb, described by Kirk's Turning Point USA as a visionary who helped shape generations of young leaders, died Friday at the age of 76, 2 weeks after suffering a serious head injury when he fell playing the popular sport. The conservative author, who was also widely dubbed the father of modern cheerleading, succumbed after 2 weeks on life support. TPUSA posted a nearly 10-minute tribute to him Friday, calling him a dear friend to Turning Point USA and Charlie. He will be greatly missed, the group said. Webb was an early mentor to Kirk, whom he met when Kirk was just 24, and later hailed his friend as a potential future president before his assassination last year. He had amazing drive. I was overwhelmed with his maturity, his intelligence. He just had so many incredible leadership qualities. Webb told One America News Network, recalling his early encounters with the activist, who also became an ally of President Trump. Following Kirk's death, Webb told Real America's Voice he had it all: charisma, faith, respect for everyone, before going on to say the U.S. may have lost a future president. Webb described Kirk as a giant of the MAGA movement, saying his message resonated with students who held conservative beliefs but couldn't relate to the Republican establishment. That's because the Republican establishment is basically just filled with spineless do-nothings who would agree with Democrats but not actually get anything fucking done ever for their actual voters. They were isolated, and Charlie's message and his just charisma gave them definition. It gave them hope. It made them feel like they were okay, and what they stood for were good things. And then eventually, as he created Turning Point and the conferences, he was able to bring those young people from around the country together, and they discovered other people felt like they did, and they had friends all over the country who shared this belief. Webb attended the ceremony where Kirk was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Away from politics, Webb, dubbed the father of modern cheerleading, founded Varsity Spirit at the age of just 24 in 1974. He called for cheer routines to feature more acrobatic and athletic elements, according to the New York Times, and helped bring competitions to televisions across the U.S. Varsity staffers even nicknamed the private jet Webb traveled on Cheer Force One, and a spokesperson said he played a pivotal role in shaping cheerleading as it exists today. That's pretty fucking cool. I didn't know about that. Modern father of cheerleading. That's a neat little tidbit. How did he fall and acquire an injury on the pickleball court? That's my question. Why is this more of an article of Charlie than the guy that died? Also a good question. Like, I guess, like, he seems to have his own claim to fame aside from just being a mentor to Charlie Kirk. It's like, why did the article spend so much more time talking about Charlie than talking about the Webb guy that died? I thought that was interesting just because how many times are you going to hear someone died in a pickleball accident? What the fuck? Bostonian of the Year has been ordered to pay back the $224,000 she stole from her own nonprofit. Wow! Wow, I'm so shocked to learn of more fraud! The Boston Globe named her Bostonian of the Year. Boston Magazine called her the city's best social justice advocate. Well, actually, she can keep that title. I feel like you earn the title of best social justice advocate depending on how much fraud you're able to commit. And so considering her tab is about $224,000, she can probably keep that best social justice advocate moniker. That unironically fits very well for someone committing fraud like this. Monica Cannon Grant, the former community organizer who rose to fame leading a massive 2020 Black Lives Matter march through Boston, that should have been your first indicator that she was going to commit fraud, was ordered Monday by U.S. District Court Judge Angel Kelly to forfeit every dollar she made from her crimes. From diverting donations from her own nonprofit, collecting fraudulent pandemic unemployment benefits, and pocketing rental assistance that she wasn't entitled to. The forfeiture amount includes roughly $181,000 in diverted donations from Violence in Boston, Inc., the nonprofit she founded, more than $33,000 in fraudulent pandemic unemployment benefits, and about $12,600 in rental assistance benefits, according to a copy of the court order. And that's on top of the $106,000 in restitution Kelly already ordered at Cannon Grant's sentencing in January, when the judge gave her 4 years of probation, 6 months of home detention, and 100 hours of community service. No prison time, despite prosecutors requesting 18 months behind bars. I mean, when we're letting murderers of babies go free, I'm really not surprised that someone, quote unquote, merely committing fraud doesn't get any jail time. She should, for sure, but I'm just not surprised anymore. Cannon Grant founded Violence in Boston, Inc. in 2017 out of her home in Roxbury. By 2020, it had expanded to a headquarters in Hyde Park, and she was everywhere. She organized a protest march that drew thousands through Boston streets after the killing of George Floyd. I guess I shouldn't sing it this time because it's actually relevant to the story. She collaborated with a Dorchester restaurant to distribute free meals during COVID. How do they all end up doing the exact same thing when they commit fraud? Like, all the Somali fraud in Minnesota is also like activist fraud, like childcare meal fraud, autism fraud. How is it all the same exact sectors every fucking time? This just makes you laugh remembering all the streamers that raised money for BLM when it started. And it's like, I could give a pass for people who like, oh, I really believe in doing good. But after it came out that they were like, oh, hey, all these people are just buying mansions and enriching their own lives. None of it's actually going back into any community. Anyone donating after that fact is just a fucking retard. Like, I could at least give an excuse for the people initially being like, oh, I thought I was doing good thing, but then found out it wasn't. The accolades piled up: Globe Magazine's Bostonian of the Year, Boston Magazine's Best Advocate, a household name in progressive Boston. Behind the scenes, according to federal prosecutors, she and her husband, Clark Grant, were spending the money on themselves. Vacations, car rentals, dining out. The couple raised more than $1 million for the charity and received nearly $60,000 in pandemic relief funds intended to feed people in need, and then treated it like a personal checking account. Clark Grant was killed in a motorcycle crash in Easton in March 2023 before the case went to trial. Hold on. Was the motorcycle bought with the fraudulent funds? Because that's going to determine how upset I should be at the fact that he died in a motorcycle crash. In September, Cannon Grant pleaded guilty to 18 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, mail fraud, and tax violations. In exchange, prosecutors agreed to dismiss 9 counts related to allegations of mortgage fraud. Why? Why would we dismiss any allegations of fraud? And 9 counts of mortgage fraud? In this economy where we can't buy houses? Are you kidding me? It's bribery. I'm so sick of it. At her January sentencing, Cannon Grant told Judge Kelly she took, quote unquote, full ownership of her actions. She also said she was extremely proud of the nonprofit's work during the pandemic. I bet you were really proud that you were able to defraud tons of people and enrich yourself. Monday's forfeiture order puts a final number on it: $224,063 in proceeds from crimes committed against the very community she claimed to serve. Whether Cannon Grant can actually pay it back is another question entirely. Self-loathing liberals will send this race hustler donations, but she's more likely to open a leering center than to pay restitution. True and fucking real. I will never forget using like the race hustler term to describe somebody who is unironically a race hustler. And then some fucking people involved with Bint got really mad that I was using a supposed racial term from like the 1960s. I was like, how in the fuck would I even know that? What are you talking about? And she took full ownership of her actions, just like she took full ownership of all the donations. True and fucking real, dude. Remember back when I talked about all of the bridge stuff pretty consistently? Remember when I brought up how Miss Rachel signed to CAA, the Creative Artist Talent Agency in California? And I was like, you're about to see Miss Rachel get a hell of a lot more political, considering CAA is a heavy company into DEI and especially the bridge rhetoric. And then we saw Miss Rachel do stuff with Mom Donnie. We saw Miss Rachel fucking try to have Dylan Mulvaney on her show. There was something else besides the Mom Donnie thing, and I can't even fucking remember what it is. But now we have Miss Rachel is fighting to close an ICE facility in Texas that's detaining children. She wants to make sure that kids and their parents are back in their communities where they belong. Their communities are back in their home country, not in the United States, woman. I am political. It's political to believe that children are worthy of love and care, and that every child is equal, and that our care shouldn't stop at what we look like, our family, at our religion, at a border. No, it should absolutely stop at the border. If you come here illegally, you have to go home. If we can find out that your children are actually your children and you're not some sort of human trafficker, your children go home with you. You stay as a family. We will keep your family together and we will deport you. Miss Rachel recently had a video call with 9-year-old Daver Heniao Jimenez, who was detained at the Dilley Immigration Processing Center in South Texas. The boy told her he wants to leave and go to the spelling bee. He can go to the spelling bee in whatever his home country fucking is. It was unbelievably surreal to see the sweet little face and feel like I was on a call with somebody who's in jail. It broke me, and it was something I never thought I'd encounter in life, she told the news outlet. We're trying to get a child out of jail to do a spelling bee. I just never thought these words would go together. She's literally doing the meme. She's literally doing the meme of like, oh no, this child is crying. Fuck having laws and a border and order of country and shit. Holy fuck. Hola amigos, tiempo de ser deportados. Can you spell deportados? Sorry to be retarded, but who the fuck is this person? You've never heard of her. She is a child YouTube channel. She does YouTube content for children. Can I go to Miss Rachel's channel and just find like one thing that she's done recently?
Hello. Peekaboo. Where's Miss Rachel? Peekaboo. Can you do that? Peekaboo. That's such a fun game.
Duck. Quack, quack, quack. Great
Gold
job.
Star Duck!
The stars are so beautiful.
Yeah, they really are.
My ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
What the heck? You're so confused. You looked away for 5 minutes. That weird skinny oboe thing looks cool as fuck though.
Won't you sing?
I didn't know the ABCs got such a fucking upgrade. What are the subliminals is this? Until that song, I was just like, it just looks like fucking Blue's Clues shit, right? Like just normal children programming. So why she's jumped in on like doing political activism is like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. As a kid, you would hate this shit. I mean, for kids programming, I don't think anything we clicked on is particularly egregious, right? It's the fact that she wants to put in weird far left gobbledygook into the programming.